No, if I don't trip on, yeah, I can't.
Is Carol gonna bump it when she pulls that out?
Not very many at all.
Possibly, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's, thanks, Mike.
Good call, Mike.
That's why I'm a manager.
Oh, well, let's do it like this.
She's just thinking it. Words in her mind.
The food was very good, but we went with Matt's mom and dad and used to do it. For her comfort, her cravings. So, no, food was good. It's different. So we left her 2 hours early. So she was on spring break, but so she stayed. I had ice cream. Then she was with us and we went to the shop. And then when we got, she took a train back.
You need a gym.
We went to London for a night. We went to London the next day. So they've already been through.
I did a lot of that reading too. I realized the same thing. It's still, but it's
I sent out the.
sign in there.
Girls are
Are you on
That wasn't it. That was just.
Yeah, right. Not my favorite.
Yes, I saw that on Facebook. Okay, what's up?
Still standing. That's the litmus test? Sorry? Is that the litmus test?
Or the one I got. Because we'll definitely, we'll make sure we set that. Appreciate it. He's the one who I don't do enough.
I touched on that night to make sure.
I'm gonna order those feelings.
Oh, I see, yeah.
This is very nice.
So, talk to the lady to get the rush trucking program. We got a truck shut off. So, $500 to reprogram it.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get approval through GM, so we have to prove that we're a municipality. We're a dog truck reprogram. So you gotta jump through hoops through GM.
Dazed and confused.
The program.
That's weird. Were you gonna get my letter?
Did I get your letter?
Would you like it, or should I just toss it?
No, I'd like that. Either email it or I'll stop down.
Okay, it's not taking up much space.
I'll stop down. Just want to know why I was-
We're on the highway, we're shut off and we're not.
That's why they're here to take him out, let him go. That's why.
Oh, I got out of bed, and I was walking down the stairs, and we're down on 17 road.
Yes, Carly's gonna get rid of it.
Yes.
But I didn't realize we were gonna roll.
Yeah, well, the lawyer is fine with that. What's his name?
Well, the only way to haul it off the highway is to go back.
Like a plumber.
This is the back.
Well, not quite that bad.
No.
See what I did? All we're doing is to haul it. So we took 17 and 16 all the way down to Wentworth. Stacked them off. Just 5 miles an hour all the way to the exit. So it's big truck came back, passed us, and we're like, road clear. And then we sent it on the highway.
Yeah, I like those long closures.
Call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do have some adjustments to the agenda. Under new business, D, training for the police. And E, we had some people who turned in letters for some of our vacancies, and hopefully we can appoint someone. And F under new business is, the purchase of the trailer from the fire department.
What?
Carol, did you have any correspondence? No. Okay, I have two, one from Patricia Yonda, Supervisor Hall, in response to the recent advertisement regarding a vacancy on the Board of Ethics. I wish to apply for the position. I am currently an ambulance commissioner and believe I could serve in a fair and equitable manner. Cordially, Patricia Yonda. And from William Yonda, dear Supervisor Hall, I wish to submit my name as a candidate for the Cohocton Board of Assessment Review. I understand that there is a state mandated training and am able to attend. Cordially, William Yonda. That's all I have. Acceptance of the minutes from the town board meeting for February 20th. And a special meeting for 2/15, but we'll do that. We'll do it first. I'll make a motion to accept the February 20th board meeting minutes.
special board meeting. I
The
didn't,
special was the 15th.
oh, yeah, mine was on the computer, but I didn't print it off. I didn't print it off.
I gave everyone a copy of the minutes.
I don't have one of the special.
I'll make a second that we approve the February 20th minutes.
Any discussion?
Were there any minutes of that meeting? The
Um,
15th?
Oh, there were.
A skeleton thing of minutes.
Sorry?
A skeleton of minutes, just to acknowledge that there was a meeting.
That was a meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm just gonna abstain because I wasn't there.
And the special meeting, Carol did do a summary. It wasn't really a meeting, so I don't know that we really have to accept the minutes.
Okay.
We have reports from the supervisor, the town clerk, dog control, highway, justices, planning board, ambulance, and police report.
No police report. I make the motion, we accept the reports.
I'll second.
Any discussion on any of them? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the abstract as presented.
I have a couple questions. We're talking about.
Yeah, I came in the meeting.
Okay,
Number 152 for Staples. The numbers don't match. The invoices that are there don't match the numbers on the voucher.
I don't know what you mean like by that, because they total up to the total we were billed. So what does, I don't understand what doesn't match. These are categories of the, on the top
Yeah.
are the different departments.
But the invoices that you have don't match any of those numbers. We went through them, what, 2-3 times?
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure them out.
None of them matched up to the invoices.
These don't match up because several, if you look at the invoices, they all come from different departments.
Yeah.
That's what, how these figures come
Right.
about.
Geraldine, maybe you can explain it better than I am, but those numbers don't match what you have on the front page. The total matches, but the numbers don't match.
Invoice numbers.
Yeah, the
Invoice
invoice
numbers
numbers don't
don't
match the numbers on the front.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then the only other one I had was the Avoca Spring Water Incorporated. It doesn't say what that bill is for.
Well, those are the water jugs out there,
There's jugs of water for
The
the
water
highway
jugs.
barn in here.
the water jugs.
That's all I had.
I don't know the bill matches the.
So, is that what you're talking about, these numbers here?
No, this is 8507. If you look, you can't find an invoice for 8507.
No, there isn't. That's a department. Look on the,
No, she's talking,
I'm talking about these invoices.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. The invoices don't match the,
yeah, they wouldn't
Amount.
So
because,
the amount,
yeah, this, if you go over there, over here, that's because that's for one department, not for an invoice. It's what totals whatever
did we total all
that
the
is,
invoices?
I
And
can't
see
see
if
what
they came up with the
so let's
total
fix the front
on
here.
the paper. Yeah, none of them.
That was the other bill.
Under some other.
Oh, no, there's no.
And they're listed in 3 different places on here.
All right, Pete, I think I found where the error is, because they're listed in 2 different spots, so that's why we messed up.
Yeah, cause
Okay.
these amount numbers and these amount numbers match the account numbers where they're being pulled from.
And the abstract just does it by department,
And then see, then there's another Staples here.
Just
because
one.
that's another department. That's how the abstract is done.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we accept the abstract.
Second?
Any further discussion?
That's my paper.
Oh,
Do we, I guess I haven't paid much attention to this, do we pay the ambulance? And somebody else, maybe you can answer that.
3,000 a month.
we pay CVS, Cohocton Valley Ambulance Service, who we contract for our volunteer EMTs. We pay them $2,000 a month by contract. It changes every year. They've asked for less money every single year, but
But that's not our department?
that's our department. But we have some paid staff, which we pay on our payroll.
Yep.
And CVS provides the volunteer who cover nights and weekends. And we pay them because they have insurance and other things. We've always paid them since the start of the ambulance service.
So that's just on the volunteer side of things then?
Mhm. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Tonight we have Greg and Matt to bring us up to date on our water project.
How's everybody? Alright, so. We have a water project that's been outlined through a preliminary engineering report. We've submitted that report off to funding agencies. We've been able to obtain a WIA grant of roughly 2.1 million. So that's basically covering roughly 60% of the project cost. And our project is essentially looking at replacing about 4,100 linear feet along Wayland Street, which is near State 21. And then we're gonna put a 2,400 foot loop down Beecher to basically eliminate the long dead end. That part of the system, if there's a break, that whole northern part is out. There's no connection to go back around.
So what he's talking about is Atlanta's the newest system when it was done. I'm sorry, I can go up there, I guess.
See? I told him he should come up here, but.
So, I know Geraldine and Pat, this is Greg, he is with MRB Group, previous board, did contract with him for the PER and whatnot. So this is Greg Cohocton. So basically, the loop on Beecher Street is going to loop Atlanta in. So right now, we have one of our big deficiencies, even as far as the health department is concerned, is the Atlanta side of the district is only fed by a 10-inch main, and it's only a single main for a matter of a few blocks, basically from the fire hall all the way to
Deckard's Corner.
River Street. There's actually a branch off River Street. So if something was to happen there, or anything was to ever happen there, it pretty much the entire hamlet of Atlanta would be out of water. There's no other source of feeding it. During the original project, it was supposed to be looped on Beecher. I guess they ran into DEC problems and stuff like that, maybe at the time. I've heard different stories. But, the things have advanced. They do much better drilling now and whatnot, so the drilling would be connecting on Beecher Street. And then the section he talked about on 21 or Wayland Street is we've had numerous breaks in there since the system was put in. I would say, what do you think, Barry? Probably at least
10, I know.
Since you've been here. Since Barry's been here, it's been 10. I would dare say, I know there was a couple when Coates was here.
It's kind of been a problem right from the get-go.
Yes, yes, it has.
All that
It was improperly bedded, that's the biggest problem with it. It wasn't faulty pipe or something like that, it was just improper installed, so. And then these PRV vaults, the PRV vaults is something else he has on here to raise above. We wanna bring them above grade. I would like to combine them, but.
Right. So does anyone know what a PRV vault actually entails?
No.
It's roughly an 8x12 structure, it might be 8x10, depending on what it is, but it's all below grade. And the piping, it's done that way because your water main's buried below frost depth, right? So it's already at 4.5 foot of cover anyways. So it goes into that valve, and then there's a control valve, which reduces the pressure downstream of that. So that structure requires confined space entry to go down into it. So what we've been doing for a lot of our communities is we've been taking these below grade structures and we've been moving them to above grade structures to eliminate that concern over confined space entry. Confined space entry is, it's a big deal. OSHA is really strong in enforcing that. It's also, it requires 2 people instead of 1 person. There's a lot of jobs that can be done by 1 person if it was above grade, but because it's below grade, it's always 2. So, those are basically, and then there's some other miscellaneous improvements to the town well house. We're gonna target something to try to deal with some of the hard water, because we know we're having some scaling issues. So
that's something separate completely, right? I mean, we'd like to incorporate it into this project. It was not actually part of the original report.
Right.
Had a lot of complaints for years. Barry's had a lot of complaints. I'm sure the clerk has had a lot of complaints throughout the years of the hardness over the water over here. It is really hard. Village of Cohocton's hard. Wayland's hard. Here's exceptionally hard. People want to know why they got sand in there,
right?
in their sink. And it's starting to show itself a lot more in the last few years. Barry actually had to unplug a couple of lines earlier this year because of the buildup. What it is it's calcium. It's not sand. It's actually calcium. And being that our lines are all plastic, it doesn't stick to that. So what it's doing is it's sticking to any metal figure that it can find, whether it's a joint, an elbow, anything like that. Meter. It's starting to plug the meters in some aspects. So we've been doing some testing, and MRB is working on trying to come up with a solution for that. Again, that's not something that's included in here, but it's something that we would like to try to incorporate into this, because it is a problem, and it is the quality of the water that's being delivered. We don't have good answers for it yet, but
Does Wayland do anything?
for treating our water, actually we do.
I was gonna say
We one of the treatments that they're looking at for here. I'm not saying that it's doable yet, but it's a chemical treatment. It's an orthophosphate, or a blended orthophosphate, added into it to help. We do add a little bit of it in Wayland. It helps with the iron and manganese and whatnot. We're not treating it so much for the hardness. Ours isn't that hard, but that's the main reason that we're doing it. And it basically coats the lines, any of the old steel lines, even lines in homes, so that it kind of, it doesn't let the iron, come through that way.
So we did some initial water sampling. That was able to pull some of that in. We took that and we ran it through our Water Pro Calc program to kind of help give us an idea. So hard water, there's ranges on hard water, and the upper range for what's considered very hard water is like 200 milligrams per liter of calcium in your water. You guys are like 400 milligrams per liter. So I'm like, you guys, it's like, that's about as hard water I've ever run into. And I grew up in hard water, like really hard water. I think this water is actually harder than that. So it presents its own challenge. One, because putting in water treatment will be very difficult because there really isn't any wastewater. So if we generate a waste stream as part of our process, it's going to be more problematic. But if I can do something where we can just do a chemical addition, and we can basically sequester that hardness by using this polyorthophosphate blend, that might actually work. But we do need to get some additional testing done, which I think you're efforting.
We're done. That's waiting for test results.
Yeah, so it's like zinc and a couple other parameters we need to test for, just to make sure that the product will actually perform. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we get a performance guarantee from the vendor that we are gonna actually reduce the hardness, when we put this in, so. So what's in front of you all right, hang on, so we have all that good stuff. We've secured, secured the WIA grant. We are, going to use, EFC short-term financing. And then our long-term funding may fall to rural development. Mainly because rural development will offer us a better interest rate in longer term on the bond, which will reduce the overall impact. Yes, sir.
Any grants available besides the WIA grant?
For what we're doing, I mean, those are the big hitters. You know, CDBG, you have to fit the right economics. And unfortunately, I think Cohocton wasn't in that realm for CDBG. But that's something, if we wanted to, we could potentially continue the search for funding. The only issue is, like, now we're at the point now that we have the WIA grant, there's a shot clock with the WIA grant, so we need to utilize it. There is an upcoming round of CFA. I have no problem with trying to see if there isn't something else for us to hit on through that, but there's not a tremendous amount of water replacement. Like if we were dealing with like 1,4-dioxane or
Basically, hardness isn't a violation.
you're right.
Hardness isn't a violation, it's not unhealthy.
heavy metal or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
if you're like, you know, PFAS, you know, people are throwing buku cash at that stuff. But even still, they would be in the same pot of money that we're in, that we agree.
How much money are you talking to borrowing for short-term financing?
The short-term financing, we'd have to finance, it depends on the financial plan, which we have to work through a little bit with Donegan's, because they're your financial consultant. But the short-term financing, and they may pre-finance the entirety, and then when we, because we can get 75% of the WIA grant up front, so 75% of that 2.1 or whatever, we can get that up front for cash on hand. But we'll still have to finance that last 25% of the WIA grant regardless, because that's the last money out of the project. So,
About 1.5.
but the beauty of the EFC financing is that, you know, there's not a tremendous amount of cost for that short-term financing. That saves us from taking out a ban and eating that interest over that.
Market, right?
Yeah, because at that point in time, when you pull a ban, it's based off of whatever your market rate is. EFC is using New York State's market rate, different ratings, right? So you'll get a better interest rate on that short-term financing. And the reason for the rural development is that once we get our preliminary funding letter from those guys, that rate is locked. So we will know exactly what we're getting into at that point in time. And right now, I think we're targeting the intermediate, which I think is right around 3 or maybe a little bit less than 3 right now for the intermediate.
For right now.
It's fantastic. So I think that's the most ideal funding package that we can get outside of if there's some other grant that, you know, lands on our lap. The other things you guys can do, if you want to, you can always reach out and see if there's any SAM grants available to you, but they're only going to be probably like 50 grand or something like that. But it's something. You can always ask, and your representatives will either say, you know, they're available or they're not available at this point in time. But that's another way to find some cash. But there isn't like a big getting 60% of your project. That's pretty good for these water projects. Normally, the only grant you would get, because we'd probably have to run this all through rural development, you'd catch some amount of grant from rural development, but it's capped out at like 500,000.
So they're last out too. So you
Yeah,
still have
they're
to
last out.
loan.
You still have to
and
finance all of it.
Their grant is the last money out. So they want you to
Exactly.
spend their loan and then they'll give you the grant money.
So where we're at right now is we're ready to basically get into design, because obviously the clock's running. So the sooner we can get things done and approved and get it out the bid, the more affordable we can make the project, or at least we can reduce our risk. So we just don't know where, the further you go out, you don't know where you're gonna end up as it relates to costs. Because obviously inflation is a real thing, we all feel it, right? So, you know, the longer we stretch that out, who knows where we end up. It could be, you know, you could be higher, you could be lower too. That's also a possibility, but more than likely it's usually higher.
And a lot of it depends on the demand too. Right now, there's not a ton of jobs out there, I don't believe, is there?
No.
So I mean, you're gonna get a little better pricing than, say, there's a lot of jobs out on the market.
There's a
I
lot
don't
of
know how many are in
No,
design, but.
Yeah, but I mean, the contractors are hungry. I mean, they're calling me you know, probably every other week asking me about what projects are coming out, so you know they're hungry. That wasn't the case, whatever, 2 years ago. There was a gluttony of projects on the street, and, you know, I couldn't find people to bid jobs. So, that's kind of changing a little bit right now. And then, you know, so what you have in front of you right now is my proposal, soup to nuts, for the project, to move ahead with the design. We gotta get the survey done initially, and then we can move to the design phase. This includes the bidding phases, the construction, admin and administration, and observation. That goes on the back end, that's all in here. You know, our fee is still well below what was budgeted. What was in the overall budget was a much higher number. It was like, I think it was almost $150,000 more. So we cut that down pretty good. And yeah, so that's basically where we're at. We're ready to go.
I'm not sure if you guys seen the PER at all. I know, I think Pete and Judy have, maybe. Have you seen the?
It was a while ago.
Yeah, well, it was a while ago. This is what, dated back June of 2020. I just wanted to, you know, that's available. Judy has that here if you guys would like to look at it. It basically spells out all the you know, the problems within the district. It gives an overview of what they found and.
Like I say, at that point in time, it was getting looped down McKay Street.
Right.
Yeah, this is the first I've heard the Beecher Street program. Which
Yeah,
is
the Beecher is just
Bakemore
run,
Street.
yeah, it's more directing, particularly because we can drill it.
Right.
That's kind of my thoughts behind it, because you're not gonna be in the wetland because you're up on the road, right? We're gonna stay at the shoulder of the road, so we're not down on the wetland to minimize our impacts.
Whatever you gotta do is only carries the cheaper.
Right, but that's the shortest route. We'll just drill, there's no services off of it. There's gonna be minimal hydrants, minimal valves. So it's gonna be probably a big straight shot of HDPE.
That's more of the cost effect of
Oh, yeah.
you know, especially at this point. I mean,
Where-
valves, everything's.
Yeah, where are you thinking of putting the vaults?
So right now, there's 3 vaults. There's one right up there at Shanks. The
There's
vaults
two that are close by.
Yeah, there's 2 that are fairly close. They're both on University. One's right across, pretty much right across from the playground there. And then the other one's right on the corner of, what is that, Gary?
Maple.
Maple Ave, yep. Right there in the yard. The one on Maple Ave just has, I think that one's pretty much covered up. The one on University has a little candy cane on it, and then the one in front of Shanks, I think, is pretty much covered up.
But all 3 of them are full of water.
Yeah, all 3 of them full of water. They're constantly, they're deteriorating bad. They're a danger. On top of that, what they are is they got the main going in and coming out, which is one thing. That's good, heavy, thick pipe. But there's also a 2-inch bypass that that bypasses these, with another smaller PRV in it for like the daily use. The bigger ones mainly for the hydrants. But even all that stuff is just getting deteriorated. And I mean, how many times have we gone in them this year alone, Barry? I mean, we've been there, what, at least a dozen times.
Maybe once a month, the guy wouldn't do something.
And it's pumping them out. There's only one way in and out of these. To me, it's a hazard, and I don't care for it. I've been doing it at all. Barry you always have somebody with him, whether it's me, one of my other guys from Wayland, whether it's his grandson. But still, it's not a good situation at all.
So would those vaults stay in those locations? Obviously, the one in front of Shanks, you're not probably gonna be able to.
Yeah, so there's a thought that we might be able to combine 2 of the vaults into one above ground structure. But the third one might be a little bit far. I think Matt wants them all together in one thing, but
Ideally,
I feel like it's gonna get too big at that point in time. I want to stay with
looped, or do we need the 3rd one? That's the question. If they're
we can
looped,
look at that.
you know what I mean? So there's a lot of variables. It's not this. So what this is just a preliminary report. We really hasn't gone. What he's asking for with the proposal is to actually get some survey, get into design, and start and put things on paper to design them, see what's going to work out. Problem is with these vaults is I mean, Atlanta and Cohocton is pretty flat, but it does have a slight rise to it as you go toward out 21 there towards Naples, and you know, our water goes all the way to the mill out there. So a lot of those PRVs depend on elevations and whatnot. That's the whole reason we got it, is because the tank's so high. Ideally, I would like to build an above ground building on by the playground there, just a small building. Put 2 of the PRVs in there, one going towards Cohocton, one going towards Atlanta. Something that can be checked daily, and one of our other deficiencies is the residual. Wherever we take our daily residual tests and whatnot, is supposed to be before the first customer. Right now, we're taking it over here. There's plenty of customers between here and there. And there's other tests that come off that as well. There's no line that actually comes off of our contact time that we can take samples from except for the fire department. That's truly probably the first customer is the fire department. So right there would be a perfect spot, and if we had our sample port in there as well, I mean, it kind of kills two birds with one stone. The one at Shanks, now that could be a different story. I'm not sure. Again, I would like to see if we just do away with it, or you know, a possibility it might have to be moved back towards the corner. I don't know that answer.
What we're talking about above grade structures, they're commonly referred to as hot boxes. They're basically a metal, aluminum, or stainless steel structure. Sometimes they can be painted steel, but I don't like using painted steel because they're just gonna rust. It's insulated, and then inside of it there's like a couple of milk house heaters, essentially. And all your piping is all at grade, so you take the panels off and you can work on everything right here at waist height versus having to go down. You know, anytime you gotta actually pull the valve, you gotta rig it, right, pull it out. So, saves you all of that.
What do we gotta do?
So you have our proposal in front of you. I think basically what we would ask the board is to authorize Judy to go ahead and sign these contracts and effectuate any and all necessary contracts to keep us going forward.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
I did.
And just so that everyone knows, so some of this too, like, you know, the early on stuff, with your survey and stuff like that, because I know it's come up before that, you know, the town might be able to float some money from general to water, you know, as long as it gets repaid with, you know, whether it has interest or no interest.
Has to have some interest.
So if they were to do something like that for the early on, they could do that, they just not have to go, you know,
Yeah,
get financing even with the EFC, or is that
Right.
off the table with the EFC?
No, once you've established your, have you guys established your capital project budget yet for this project? Okay, so at Donnigan's office, and we will also help you guys with setting that up. I highly recommend you set up the capital project budget, because the capital project budget can float between years. This project's gonna take probably, I would say reasonably, it's gonna be almost a 3-year cycle. I think we'll be done before then, but by the time all the paperwork's all done and everything, yeah, it's probably pushing a 3-year cycle because we'll design, and then we'll put out the bid. Hopefully we'll be able to put out the bid at the end of the year. And then maybe we'll start construction the following spring. That construction will probably carry through the end of that year, maybe into the following year. So you guys won't have that P&I payment on the bond until that last year. So we're in 24, we'll be 25, so maybe not till like 26 at the earliest, just so you guys have an idea of the timing of that. So you can use your A-line or whatever to do an interfund loan. You do it as a due-to-from scenario with the capital budget. The reason why you might have to do that, or might consider doing that, is just because the EFC short-term financing, I think, it's a couple months out yet for them to actually close on it. So because of that, you might need to basically just throw a little bit of money in there. My initial bills are gonna be pretty innocuous, honestly, because it's gonna be, you know, this,
30,000?
yeah, you got 30 grand for that survey and base mapping. So as long as you can float, you know, say like 50 into that account, that'd be perfect, and it'll be fine, at least until the EFC gets in there.
It kinda gets things rolling, or gets things moving, and it gets things moving so that, it'd be ideally, it'd be nice to bid by, say, 2025. If we can go like late fall, maybe early winter of 2024 to put out to bid. That way you can kinda have everything in line so that if a contractor starts, say, spring of 25, I mean, there's a good chance that, you know, if everything goes great, and you know, they have a whole construction season to get things done,
Right.
and that's just close out after that.
Right. And that would be the plan.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
So the 2.1 million WIA grant would come
So,
couple months?
yeah, so first step is we have to have this executed because EFC needs that before they'll, that's part of like the,
So that's what you're talking
that
about.
the carrots that they ask about to, before they give you that money. So now that we have, once this is signed, we'll get everything into EFC for approval. We'll have to do a utilization plan. That's fun for me. Utilization plan is dealing with, this, the state gives you money, but there's always strings attached with it. And the strings attached are the MWBE requirements, which is the Minority Women in Business Enterprise requirements. So we'll have to put that utilization plan, once that gets approved. So EFC engineering and then EFC MWBE compliance, once they okay all that stuff, then we can get that money.
Here's the short-term list of questions from EFC.
Yeah, there's a few pages to deal with.
Let me see that picture.
Short-term list.
They don't ask for your blood type, but
Only your
it
first
comes pretty
four.
close. It does come pretty close.
Kinda like going with those other, what other grants are out there, and CDBG was brought up, the red tape that comes with CDBG is unbelievable. I mean, this is,
Are we above or below the poverty level for that?
you have to have, like 50, greater than 50% low mod. So I don't think you guys qualify for that. What's interesting is you guys would qualify for what's called BIL, which is bipartisan infrastructure law money, but you guys scored, our project scored too low. So there's BIL money for people ahead of you, but not, so that part's unfortunate, because that would have kicked the WIA grant from 60% to 70%, and that would have given us a zero interest loan. So it's just unfortunate that we didn't score.
which is another, being that where the project scored is another issue with other grants, like, so if there was grants out there for source water or something like that, we don't really qualify because we don't have those issues and we didn't score in that area.
Yeah, like I said, those guys are really trying to favor, like particularly the BIL money, they're really after like lead pipe replacement. They're focusing, 1,4-diaxane, they're focusing PFAS. Those are probably the three hot buttons. If we had a project that we were basically doing, you know, say we're putting in a water treatment plant or replacing a water treatment plant, or also, you know, messing with your storage, your system storage, or somehow messing with your source water, those things can help trigger and help you move higher up, but we didn't have those issues.
Part of this is also rehabbing the storage tank as well.
Yeah,
But
that's,
just
I mean,
general maintenance.
we're
basically.
just, so it's Aquastore, right, so
Yeah,
we're
it's
just
Aquastore.
recocking it, yeah.
It's not like a new tank.
Yeah.
But
So, all right. For everyone that's new on the board, I'll just ask Judy, if you don't mind, just share my email and my phone number with them. I don't have business cards with me today, I apologize, normally I would hand those out. But I just wanna make sure you guys have the ability to reach out when you guys have questions. Okay? Good,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, by the way, my daughter's here. She's here because she has to do it for participation in government. So,
The Cohocton students.
so I dragged her all the way from Chi-Li all the way down here.
Yeah, she didn't want to come with you and ride here.
She got a burger though, she's fine.
While we're on water, I just got this today, we have to have our wells, what do we call this, yeah? Flow testing, and it's our time to do it, so we need to sign the contract. This is the company that does it. He's done it for years. Every 5 years for the well testing, is that from Moody's that we just got today?
Every 5 years they have to be
I'm
flow
sorry.
tested.
Partially deaf in 1 year today.
Just today.
Is that the?
Yeah, the Moody's, yeah.
So in our sanitary survey from the DOH, they do it every other year. One of the things was we haven't had our the wells tested as far as capacity. We had them, I want to say it was 2020, we had it done. We actually, that well hasn't been cleaned since it was put in, well 2, right? 2 or 3, neither of them have been cleaned. So the health department wanted us to look into that. Back in 2020, we had Moody come out, they were gonna clean it, but they did a pump test beforehand. They actually found that it was operating better than it was when it was drilled. They recommended leaving it and basically, retesting it in a year or two. I think we're at like year 3 since then, going on year 4. The health department cited that in our sanitary survey this year, so that's just, movies right down the road right now in the village, so it kinda saves us a little bit of money as far as, mobilization. He's gonna come up and, basically do both wells instead of just one. Last time we just did 2, this time he's gonna do 2 and 3.
Make the motion to sign the Moody's contract.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody else on the water? Prantsburg Wind filed, as everybody knows, to move ahead, and it was approved by ORAs. And they had the public hearing last month at the fire hall. And out of that and some other meetings, our attorney Dwight Kanyuk, who is representing us, filed the petition for party status and issues for adjudication pursuant to 19 NWCIR and whatever the rest of the laws. And basically, they are going over our law, and Marty, help me if I forget, with the higher tower height, some setbacks are being violated. There was a third one. Oh, overhead lines. We require underground lines. They're going overhead in 2 places for less than a mile, not a mile each, but total it's less than a mile. ORAs has allowed them to ignore our law in all 3 of those cases. There was a 4th case where they have done computer modeling and are not taking into account the combination of people who are gonna live between the 3 projects, the original project, CPP, Barren Winds, and the new Prattsburg project. That we have decided is not really fair. There is no reason that they cannot do real-life testing. They are basically, Barren Winds is claiming that the CPP project is over the limit. Their studies say they're not over the limit. And so Barren Winds feels we can't penalize them for being over the limit because the other project is already over the limit. And Prattsburg is basically saying, well, those 2 are making so much noise, what do you care what we make? I'm not saying it very legally, but it's the way I feel about what they're all saying. So, we are asking for further studies on the noise part of it. The ORAS has not ruled on that part of it, I don't believe, that said they can get away with that. So we feel we're only asking for some actual real-life testing, not computer modeling, when there's lots of turbines up there already. So if anybody wants to look at any of this stuff, we have volumes of it here at the town hall. Pool and park. Last month we tabled, because there were only 3 of us here, what we were gonna do, whether we were going to start bulldozing in the pool. And we have to decide what we're gonna do, and also, I have some issues with thinking about how we're gonna staff the park for this year. I think there are some people here who would like to speak a little bit.
Hi, I'm Kara Ziri. I'm the president of the Wayland Cohocton Parent Teacher Association. And I have Elise Meldrum, she's also a member and a teacher at the school, and Corinne Chapman, she's our secretary. Elise kind of came to us about the project, just hearing like hearsay of maybe the park being closed and whatnot. So I'm gonna let her take the floor first, and then I'll follow up with a couple things as well.
Well, first of all, I'm from Wayland, so I don't pay for the pool like the taxpayers of Cohocton, but I do know that probably every person in this room is connected to the park and the pool. Whether you went as a kid, whether your kids went, whether they were lifeguards or counselors, and when I heard the pool was closing, I personally, took it hard. I went to the pool as a kid. Your kids worked there with my kids. Our kids went there for field days. And the thought of the pool closing, I think, is devastating for the whole community. I think it's one of the best things that Cohocton has to offer, and offer Springwater Wayland as well. But I don't think the Cohocton people should have to pay for it either. I don't think that should be your money that pays for it. I know Judy and I spoke a couple times, and I flippantly said, if I come up with the money to fix the pool, will you fix the pool? And she laughed. And so then I went to them, and in the meantime, I did contact the governor's office and spoke with a man named Randy from Parks and Recreation. And right now, this year, the governor is setting forth an initiative for pools just like this pool. So he notified me and said, you are on the top. He actually personally called and said, you're on the top of the list. This is exactly the type of project that we would have grants for. There's 3 specific grants. I followed up with him knowing that I was coming here, and he emailed me just a day or 2 ago and said basically that the vote for the grants is gonna go through the first week of April, if they're going to even be available. From there, he was going to instruct either Judy or someone to help, and obviously the PTSA is more than happy to help, fill out those grants and, try to save the pool. Of course, we got together and said, that's all fine and dandy, right? If we can fill out grants for you guys, if we could help that, if we could find the money. But it's no good if the town still doesn't want it. So instead of wasting our time and effort doing that, we're just coming to the board to see if those grants were available, if they covered all those costs. Would you consider us going through those motions to try to get the money so you don't have to raise the taxes, so the Cohocton people aren't paying for it, because they shouldn't pay for it? I explained that to him on the phone too when I spoke with him. I think, is your population around 800? I don't know what your population of Cohocton is.
It's based on the fire district, whatever, the total people, last I knew, it was like 996.
Yeah, so that's, no, those people shouldn't be paying for the pool,
No,
right?
that's-
And if anything, it really benefits the school, and, the school community. So we discussed a lot of different avenues that if the pool was open, and little things like the snack shack and things like that, that the business kids, business students maybe could come run that. And I know there's more operating costs than just fixing the pool. And maybe it's a Band-Aid, maybe it's only a 5-year run, you fix the pool and, maybe it's not worth it in the end, I don't know. But we did talk about if, as far as staffing it.
We have a couple different options that we can look into, but again, it has to be worth all of our time to look into it. There is workforce development. I know that the Cohocton School got the Livingston County Bureau to cover some of the costs to have workers come down, get completely paid for to work with some of the custodial and some of the fields and grounds guys. I don't know if there's something that Steuben County would allow for, and I think it's for workforce development, I think it's between age 18 and
I think they
20.
go up to 21, and they pay for the person to work.
Right, so
And
that could
cover
be
transportation.
potentially, and it covers transportation as well for the person to get there. There's also potential grants for enrichment, and that can cover some of the staffing as well. Again, it's something that we could look into. And again, the school programming, working for business credit. So the business kids could come in for a summer credit course, work and get credit towards college or get credit towards their high school diplomas for working in the in a business setting. and they would run these programs with someone overseeing, just making sure that they're, you know, doing everything properly. We did fill out we did put out a survey on Facebook, I'm sure a lot of people saw it. Over 150 people filled out that survey, and it was a Google poll, and less than 9% had something negative to say about it. There was an option on there, would you be willing to help in some capacity? And less than 9% said no, out of over 150 people. I know it's kind of hard because on social media and on the internet, a lot of people are like, yeah, I'd love to help, but then they actually don't show up, so is it 100% accurate? Probably not, but it's something to like look into. As far as repair, again, the grants that were in HOCO's State of State, for 2024, we fit all of the bills for that. There was about 5 or 6 points, and we are under, the Cohocton pool is under every single one of them. So our purpose is to not raise the taxes, because we know that that's an immediate no. We get it, 100%. I'm a taxpayer, I get it, 100%. But to find alternative avenues to support the village as a nonprofit individual organization. And this project kind of fits our mission, vision, and values, and we want to show that we can support you guys or try to offer some of that support. And so that's kind of our pitch to you guys, and if you want us to go forward and find this stuff for you or not.
Here's our dilemma. We have a big hole in the ground right now. There's no way the pool could ever be ready for this year.
No, when he emailed me back, so when they vote, at the governor's level to make sure that this goes through, that's gonna go through in the beginning of April. Timeline would be, then we would apply for all the grants that they have. And he basically said to me, because you're the first person I've spoke to that has seen this, and he said, you're on the top of my list, and he goes, you're gonna apply for all of them, and depending on who applies for what, we can move the money around if these all go through. The money wouldn't probably come through until this summer, which I'm assuming means your pool wouldn't be open till next summer. But that also gives you a year to hook up with, Becky Wagger, maybe, who's like the curriculum director at school. When they have their summer program at school, maybe they could tie that enrichment program into the park if the pool was open, and part of their program, which is paid for, could also, you know, be part of that. So basically that Cohocton's just not absorbing all the costs, or any of the costs, actually.
If we
I
can
mean,
find enough granting for it for different levels.
I mean,
That's a big if though.
Oh, it's a big if.
Those are all absolutely ifs, and I'm not, as you know, I love the pool, I support it, but I have to be practical. And
absolutely.
what do we do in the meantime? That hole can't sit there when the park will be open this year.
I think it'd be a liability,
That's a
huge
horrible
Is it
liability.
something that can be fenced off?
Well, it's already fenced off now, but,
Yeah.
Climb over it.
what's that?
You climb over it.
Yeah.
What kind of money are they talking with the grants? Like, I mean, you gotta think that pool's sitting there for, over the summer, say it is possible for it to sit there over the summer. You know, what is caved in on it, I mean, it's just gonna continue to cave. I mean, there's other spots. I mean, Barry's done an excellent job band-aiding this thing for a while, especially the kiddie pool. And, you know, every time I go there, I see other spots that are pushing here and there on the fiberglass side. So, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, it was $350,000 to get it fixed at this point, or somewhere in that price range. So I'm just wondering, after a year of sitting, another freeze, I mean, we didn't really have a freeze thaw cycle this year, but, you know, another freeze thaw cycle next year, what, you know, I just, what are the money aspects? I mean, we can't really base it off, you know, if we're looking at a year or better out, you really can't base it off that $350,000, for, you know,
Bumps are sitting, all that stuff sitting. I'd be curious to see if it's like a fix-it program, or if it's
a replacement.
a replacement.
There's
Because if
nothing
we could fill the
fixed.
hole, we could always dig the hole back out.
You know, I was just gonna say, I mean, from what it looks like with the grants, there's 3 different things. It's restoration, it's building, it's, you know, all that. I actually can forward you the email from him, cause maybe you'd be a good contact.
Right.
Because, I mean, we would do anything you need, because we're that supportive of, I think it's important for the community
Right.
in a lot of different levels. I mean, I think about all the jobs that it's created for kids, and that in itself. What do high school kids, where can they work around here? I mean, really, this is about it, you know? And that's, you know, when you're in school, you're trying to, the community to support each other and support kids working. So I will forward you everything, if that's okay, and then have a look at it, and maybe hook you up and be in contact with it too, you know? 'Cause
There
you know,
is no restoration or fix, it has to be a whole new pool.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah,
where
I
I was
think-
going with that.
I think the grant, I mean, it looks like it would be
The
covered.
state of state, if you want me to just read the quick couple bullet points, just says, invest in swimming pool construction, allocating 60 million. Allocate 30 million to constructing floating pools that internet active waterways, which isn't quite ours. Invest 30 million for pop-up above ground pools. Invest 60 million in pool renovation in high need neighborhoods. Work with state parks and community parks to transport students and families to swimming areas.
Doesn't hurt to look, I guess.
That's what I said.
He did say if it got passed, the money
Right,
would
go
be probably available this summer, so I don't know how quick that all moves.
Right.
But,
Well, you just hate to
Let it go.
have Richie and his guys dump a bunch of ditch fillings in there and
well, we could just,
have it need to come right back out. But
we could email and say if the grants went.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously, I'm not, you know, really close to this particular issue, but, you know, in my field of business, we run into kind of this stuff, fairly frequently, more frequently than you think. So, some other things to maybe consider, are you guys planning on doing a member appropriation request, for this year?
a what?
A member appropriation request. So the member appropriation request is made to it's the federal level representatives. I believe the Senate already released theirs, the House is supposed to release theirs.
I've already contacted, I got an email about that.
Yeah, are you in Tenny's?
Yes.
Yeah, so Claudia Tenney, you know, she's, obviously someone's been very supportive of projects. I'd like to maybe talk to my grants group just to check the eligibility of this as a possible member appropriation. And the only issue with the member appropriation is like, it takes a while to get the money, so like your hole might exist, maybe it might be 2 summers with that particular cash, but it's straight money. It's up to like, I wanna say you can get up to 4 million, so obviously it's a much higher possibility, but it's competitive. When we talk to people about looking for grants, it's like fishing. You don't sit in one hole when you're not catching any fish. You move to a bunch of different spots until you start catching, right? So it's like kind of the same idea. Be in as many pots of money as you possibly can. So I think the member appropriation is something that might work for you guys. I would just ask my grants group if they could just verify.
I did a day's worth of research on that and contacted that pool goes mostly to much larger communities than ours.
Yeah, but they
Cities and
also target communities that are in, because the program is now running through USDA, it actually, excludes some of those larger municipalities.
More of a rural.
Particularly when rural development switches to the updated guidance, where they switch to MHI, and then all the other, like the big towns like Canandaigua, Farmington, Victor, they won't be eligible anymore because their MHI will be too high. So I have to wait and see how that plays out. I guess all I would say is I wouldn't say no. It's definitely something to kind of think about. The long lead time item for a member appropriation request is the letters of support. You have to get a minimum of 10 letters of support. So if you're going to apply or not going to apply, I would still, for this round, I would still try to assemble your letters of support. You know, that come from your local, your local representatives, your fire department, your police department, whatever, the school board, anyone that could possibly be involved in it. The other thing I was thinking while we were talking about this, because you have a service that's used by not only this town, it's used by other towns. I guess the question would be is like, have we looked at shared services as a possibility for this pool and running the pool?
Well, that was always a big topic of discussion taxpayers that are already paying for the pool, obviously you don't wanna charge them at the gate.
Right.
But if somebody comes from Springwater, Avoca, Canisius, wherever, they're not paying for the pool, so they
Right.
should be paying for the pool.
Right,
Yes.
and that's very typical. I was actually talking to Matt before I came out here. I'm like, you guys, your pool is kind of like my pool where I grew up. I grew up with a Jordan Memorial pool, and it was the pool that was used by Elbridge. It was used by Jordan. It was used by people from Auburn, Senate, whatever. They all came, So, but it was the village's memorial pool. I'm just saying, is like a shared services agreement might work with your surrounding communities that are utilizing that. And there's grant dollars that goes along with those shared services. I'm just saying it might be a possibility. I don't know until you go through and check the grant guidance and all that other stuff, but I just was thinking of other avenues, that's all. In addition to, like I said, it could end up being a combination of multiple different
Right.
grant sources.
And we're willing to do the work to find,
Mhm.
and like you said, any pool, all the pools, pun intended,
Right.
to get it up and going. We're willing to do the work to help support, because I know these people are very busy with, water projects and wind
Right.
projects. So if we're able to, create support, and not let this
Well,
fall.
last year, Gary and I did a lot of work on looking for contractors, looking for bids, looking for all kinds of things. I put that question to the board. They voted down the $73,000 repair originally. Then one of the board members changed their mind. We voted again. We voted to do the $75,000 repair. But when we emptied the pool, the wall blew out, so that meant that was down the drain or plugged up by the.
And that's why we don't wanna ask for the
And
village's
so I
money.
basically said, am I wasting my time? I'm not gonna spend any more time if you're not gonna vote to repair the pool. And they voted, no, they were not gonna vote to repair the pool, or, well, get a new pool at that point.
Does it change if grants are involved?
Right.
Is the main question.
Well, that's not, that's up to the board.
Different board members.
Yeah, we have a new board now, but
And they're the ones that denied it.
the
Right.
majority of the town at that time, their problem was, we're talking $350,000 for a new pool.
People out there doing
And
this
it's
and
about
that.
$70,000 a year to maintain that pool. Once we
Right.
have a new pool or not, the chlorine,
Oh, for sure.
the
Absolutely.
work, the rest is all still gonna be there. So this board has to decide if that's, the route they wanna go. And the water project, we got a 2.1 million grant, but we still owe another $1.5 million for that. And this would be the same thing. So, and the biggest issue with the taxpayers is that the pool is only open 8 weeks a year. 2 years, we did not have enough lifeguards. Last year, we had enough lifeguards. We don't know what the lifeguard availability is in the future.
Well, right now.
We don't
this-
know if there would be another pandemic. And that was what the board took all that into consideration.
At the school right now, there is a staff member who's training high school students to be lifeguards on a continual basis, because there was a lifeguard shortage for a while. So as far as getting the kids certified, that's actually happening at the school level. So I think, that's a minor problem. That could easily
Well,
be
it
fixed.
isn't a minor problem because there are at least 2 or 3 weekends every summer. Those lifeguards are gone to do something different, and we're short lifeguards. We can't have the kiddie pool open. We had to stagger and have everybody out in the pool a couple times
Yeah,
to
I
give the
remember.
lifeguards
I
a
remember.
break. So that, while they're willing, kids don't like to give up every weekend for the whole summer.
But that could also be a management problem too. So if they had somebody managing those lifeguards a little bit better, I know there was, when your son lifeguarded with my daughters way back, there was never a problem. There was always enough lifeguards back then. And yes, during the pandemic was a problem for everybody. But
There
I
was
just,
a program
We can
too,
base
that
the
we had a
future
lot
off from the grant. There's gonna be the next.
So you said that the governor's meeting is in April.
Yeah.
So what would you need from us to go ahead and
well,
research this?
I guess at this point, we think there is a tremendous value in you keeping the pool and the park for the community and the kids. So, I know it's a lot of
Need to hear that you
work.
hear us out. If we were able to get these grants, or if we were able to apply, we don't wanna go ahead and apply for all these grants if you guys are
And you're
gonna
like,
just be
"Nope,
like, no, like,
We're
why
not
did you
doing
even
it,
try?
yeah.
Basically, what we would like to know soon-ish is if we were able to get grants, would you guys consider? Should we even try to get the grants?
I think it's worth the conversation.
I'm gonna know, so the park will not be able to open the pool, the way the pool condition is now.
Correct.
Right.
Well, park stays closed until they fill it in, so you guys need to make a
Not the
decision.
park, right, just the pool,
The
part of the
park.
park. But the park can be used, correct?
Not, if the pool is not filled, no. If the pool remains in the condition it is right now, the park will not open. It's a liability for the town.
Okay.
If people climb over the fence, kids get in there, they get hurt, it's on the town.
I can fill in a day.
So my.
You got three
You got a
board
whole
members
pile
that
of
wanna
sand
get
down
rid
there,
of it
right?
first.
We'll just
One
put some
day
sand in
it'll
it.
be
Well,
filled.
I'm not here to argue with anyone.
So,
Yeah, it's
my-
just-
my-
This board.
Right.
My biggest thing was, or my biggest question is, at one point in time, long before I was on the board, Jack got a grant from the state, I believe, to help the pool. But there come with a stipulation that it needed to remain open, I believe.
For a certain amount of years.
For like
Which is-
20
yeah,
20 years or
Which
something.
20 years is obviously a really long commitment. that
Right.
We would be
So I'm open to
afraid
the
of as well. but we
I'm
have to
open
see
to
what
the
grants
conversation.
are. Right.
Just all those things need to be obviously checked.
Right.
Because if we're gonna, obviously we can't Band-Aid the pool, it's gonna have to be a new one,
Right,
or a new something.
right.
Yeah, even if it's a whole new pool, if
Well,
you
Or
get
a
the
splash
grant for it,
pad, or at one point in time Barry was talking about that.
Right.
which would be cool.
Right.
But I
But-
don't know if the grants cover
Right.
splash pads. 'cause
So-
it has to do with swimming
The
location.
splash pad is doable without a lot of people,
Right.
because it can be small to start out and grow as we,
I know
grow
Cornell
it,
just
but
got a
that's
grant for
different, but the questions that we have to ask is, can you apply for these grants without a project that you're presenting? Because right now there is no project. What we had before was from a contractor who I'm sure is not gonna work with us again. He hired people and the rest, and it's nobody's fault that, the pavement happened. But I don't think you can apply for a grant and just say, well, we wanna build a pool, but you have to have those plans.
So once the grants are out, he is going to contact us because they still need to be approved. So once the grants are approved at a higher level, they will contact us and then we can see what we're eligible for and what the stipulations are for.
So the grants are the stage, you do the application, file the grant, put in what you wanna do, they see whether or not it's gonna be approvable at that point, they look at the design plan at that point. They don't look at the
Yeah, you
design
don't,
plan
yeah,
right away,
you
they
don't.
look at the application to see whether or not
Right.
this is something they want. So the
Right.
stages, they gotta go through it.
But I'm saying her contact that she's talked to that said that ours basically fits
A lot of
what
the
they're saying,
criteria
that,
of what
the,
they-
yeah, the criteria is
But
all.
how do you know what the criteria is unless you know what it's gonna cost? They have to see the plans, you can't just say, we're gonna put a new pool in the park, well, how much is it gonna cost?
Well, I told him based on what you said, that the repairs looked around 350,000 plus.
But that was based on a price we had from a contractor. So this
Right.
would all have to go out, have you ever applied for grants before?
Judy, can I speak up?
Mm-hmm.
Most people who know me, I think Harold Kiesel, I was responsible for the grant with the little library down there just got from New York State. The procedure that we had to go through was we had to throw out preliminary ideas, submit it, in our case, to the STLS, the Southern Tier Library System. That was done by July. They approved it, they turned around and asked it, then we had to go through and spell out all the details, what we were bidding on, how much the contract was gonna be for, all of that. That happened in October. It was the following February, basically, before we got notice that we were approved for 75%. Excuse me, initially it was supposed to be 75, it turned out to be 68% of what we asked. And then we did not see any money until this past October. So I mean, and I looked at one through Marjorie Burns, and that was gonna take almost 3 years before we had it. And I looked at one through the RFDA down in Bath, which is a development agency, we could have applied for that. That had 3/4 of a thick sheet of paperwork that we just said that we would stick with what we were working on.
Right.
So there's a lot of paperwork, and very early on, somebody has to have a design of what they want to put into the ground, and initially at least just a rough guess.
Maybe you could talk to this gentleman and say, you know, this is what we would need for a new pool, this is the cost estimate per year.
Right.
Find out, I don't know if the median household income plays into this as far as who gets the grants and who doesn't, but that's all information
Yes.
that you'd have to present to him and then maybe bring it back to us again.
But that's what we're asking,
We're just saying,
we're saying,
is
should
it
we do
worth
that work?
doing, or are you guys just like, no, we
I
don't
don't
want
think
it?
there's any harm in
Wouldn't that be a
looking at
board
it.
That's all
members-
we're asking.
wouldn't you
We don't
appoint
wanna
a board
go
member to
above
do that
and
for the
beyond
town
it.
instead of
Everybody's
have
like,
somebody else come in
absolutely
and do
no,
it?
no matter what.
We're
That's what we're
more than
asking.
willing to do
I know
it.
you are, but these board members don't wanna stand up and do what's right.
Will you stop speaking for us and let us talk for ourselves?
You are speaking for yourself.
Well, then just let us
So why
talk.
can't one of you board members take
Why don't you let
take
the
the
board
lead on
members
that?
deal with it?
I'm trying to get the board members to take lead on this so the
Mark,
town has a pool.
Could you ask Mr. Cagle to leave, please?
I've done nothing wrong to leave.
Okay, just let's,
And that's basically it.
If I get your
you guys
email,
get
I'm
the-
gonna include you on all my emails.
Sure, why
Does
not
that
go
work for you?
try, that's all we want.
it doesn't hurt
We
nothing.
don't wanna step
Yeah,
on your
it's
toes
not
and
hurting
go
a
try
thing.
for something that you absolutely want
So
nothing to do.
I guess maybe,
That's it.
while I email him, I'm gonna include you on the emails, and we'll get that going over the next week, because beginning of April's in a week. So I'm hoping that
well, that's the first
information-
step.
Right.
It's even.
Right, so I guess, don't
Before you
fill in
get
the
the
pool
final
this
thing,
week.
I want the board to say, how much money are they gonna have to raise? We are talking a minimum of $350,000.
I figured like over $1 million.
No, I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm not being
Well,
sarcastic.
that was $350,000 to fix the problem.
Right, right.
We're talking
For a
about a
new
new
one?
pool.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I
want
thought
a
over
new
$1
bill,
million.
let's go for $1 million. I
No,
mean,
that was,
Like,
what we've done.
that's as much as we can get.
But it still should be up to one of the board members
Okay,
to
we
do
get
that
it.
lead.
But
Stop
it
talking.
can't,
We get
but
it.
what
I
if
don't have
they
to stop
can come
talking.
up?
yes, you do. Shut up.
Mark,
Shut up.
I'm just
Shut
making a
up.
suggestion.
You're not running the meeting, all right?
I'm giving advice
You're
because
doing what?
I'm
You're
giving
talking.
advice.
Okay.
She chairs the meeting, so stop talking.
You talk talking
Everybody-
to them.
I'm
I
not talking,
make
I'm
a
up here, you're back there.
motion that we allow these ladies to look into the
Another
grant
municipality?
applicability
You guys-
Yes,
you guys are
exactly.
ridiculous.
and how much we would be eligible for, not giving any commitment to saying we're gonna spend any money or we're gonna approve this project, but allow you to look into this. Is that okay?
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
motion, but somebody second it, you know.
Well, there needs to be a discussion before we.
We have
Is
to
that-
give a
No,
second
you do a
first.
second and then you discuss.
Mike,
Just because I'm dealing with federal money right now through the fire department, and like, as this gentleman just said, the town, I'm not against the pool, but you guys have got to be prepared for this pool. Obviously, this summer, by the time your grant money goes in, it took us 8 months just to get word that our grant was going through. We're still waiting for the monies. So the odds of your pool being open this year and next year are slim.
oh, I
So I just,
totally
making sure like,
understand that.
you're trying to figure out whether to fill the pool in or not.
I think that needs to
Minimum,
happen
the pool's gonna
regardless
be
of
out for
Parks
2
Night.
seasons.
Well, we'll have
With that.
As far as filling the pool in, I mean, that's something that you guys should probably be looking at, discussing now, whether it's demoing the pool or until you find out what you're going to do, you might wanna just consider like filling it in with some sand. I mean, sand's relatively cheap, you know, or something like that. Cause you don't wanna disrupt it too much and if they're gonna put a pool back there. You're gonna wanna know what you got.
Especially if they give you money for the restoration, even though they're gonna take it out and redo it, if it's still there, maybe there's
Right,
that.
maybe it qualifies for
It qualifies for
restoration.
something, restoration.
My question to
Even
the
like
board is
a
this.
small
We're still in the middle of the project.
What is the point where, do they have to come up with all the money? Cause that's never gonna happen with grants.
I think you're
So
gonna look
are
at
you
over $2
willing
million
to-
for a pool there. That's just
I think
merely,
if they,
$2 million?
I
Then
just-
we'll have it enclosed.
So I just seen 2 in-ground swimming pools done for $75,000.
you're gonna have state, OSHA, all this stuff breathing down our necks on that down there. I think if,
All the plans have to be approved by the health department.
right, like I say, I don't think it doesn't harm anything to have that conversation.
We understand that it could be
75,
denied too.
if you can
Like-
come up with, what's 75% of $2 million?
1.5.
1.5, okay, so if there's money for $1.5 million, then
Right.
we can have a conversation.
Right.
I don't see it possible for less than $2 million.
So we got a motion
So
on
pretty
the
much
floor.
you're gonna fill the pool and table it until next month when you know if the state's even gonna let these grants go.
Well, I don't think they're
Right.
even gonna know by
They're
then.
not gonna know by
Well,
then.
Yeah, but they said at the beginning of April, they're gonna know if they're even gonna do
Right.
it.
I
We
mean,
don't know if we'll be.
We're
able
gonna
to
know
do
the
it.
first
week of
We still have to
April.
write the grant and get
Right.
approved for
The
that. and
grants
that
that they have available
3,000 years
for
too.
pools, that's, right now, that's what they're saying they're gonna do, and they're gonna vote on that the first week in April, that should be done. Then then it'll open up to apply for.
So it could shut down right there, right?
right.
Correct.
That's all they're asking is
So
for
we're
This is
looking
all
at-
permission.
just if you
We're
want us,
looking at like a
we
week
just
or
don't wanna
two.
step on toes.
Right.
That was the
Right.
main thing, is it was an absolute no, no matter what, we're not gonna sit here and
Yeah.
do all this work and step on toes and come back and be like, hey guys, we did all this work, and everybody be like, nope, that was already a no. So we're basically here just asking, would you like us to put in some effort and work to support the community, the board, or not? That was basically it.
Does
And then
the
we'll move
town
on.
want the pool?
The town board won't take a lead on it.
Well, no, I'm just saying, does the town in general want the pool?
I want the pool.
So Pat has made a motion and I will second the motion.
Okay, all
What
in
was-
favor?
To
Oh, the
look
motion
into-
was
To have these ladies look
give
into
them
the
permission
grants
to look into
To
it.
look into the grant,
with no commitment on our
because we
part.
won't have another board meeting before the first week of
It's
April.
released and revealed.
That's all right, we're pretty busy.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to make just one comment, for help along that line. The company I work for, is just acquired, we're putting in fiberglass pools now. And we also,
Hired.
deal with two companies that do gunite pools
Yeah,
that, I can get them to work on estimates.
right.
What do they
Perfect.
usually cost, do you know?
It depends on the size.
Take a guess, just.
I can't guess because I'm not a pool person. I'm a manager, I don't sell to
So Mike, you can give that
Yeah.
information to Geraldine and she can take the lead
Oh,
on it.
yeah, you can do it at your own house. Residential, you can spend 2 million.
Whoever,
wants to say something.
Waterfall, fly, no,
Yeah.
2 mil.
Hello back there.
Just out of curiosity, with them doing the work.
They're not even doing work, they're just
No,
investigating.
but I get that, they're investigating, but how, without the town fully participating in that investigation and having a representative of the town in any of those discussions with the governor's office, I feel.
But they are,
We just
town
nailed
won't.
him, he's in it.
yeah, and,
He's in
Okay,
it.
I didn't hear that.
Judy Hall was also,
Okay.
a part of
He's
it.
on
He is
board.
going to email, the representative there is going to email both
Right.
as well. That
You're better
she
off
has,
than Judy.
we've had a couple.
I just don't wanna see you guys put in work and be like, oh, you're not a town representative, you can't.
Well, that's sort of
Sorry.
why we came tonight, was we were like willing to do it all, but just
That would
might
die-
wanna
that
make
would
sure
die
there was
immediately.
some sort of.
Another quick question, guys. Hey, what, do you need pictures of what we have? So I can fill it, so the park can be open for this year?
I don't know about filling and park being open, I don't know.
That's a
Well,
separate
it
Do
needs
you
to
have,
fill.
do you wanna do photographs?
It needs to be
Probably
filled.
we love pictures.
It needs to be filled before you can open the park.
Yeah.
Right, that has
Because
nothing
you have
to do
other
with
things that you can do it.
We don't-
You can't keep jumping over the fence, falling in a 12-foot pool.
So you'd like the damage pictures
I
before
wanna
they fill
know-
it? is what
Sure,
he's asking.
yeah.
before it's.
Any pictures
Yeah.
before, after it's filled, any of, all of the above, I think can help.
This is my downtime and I can fill.
I don't,
That'll
I don't
be
get to
The
decide.
board will be voting on that.
Yeah, you'll have to,
We
you
have a
guys will
motion.
have
I
to
don't
vote
get
on
to
it.
decide
Okay,
anything.
everybody
So I
quiet for 3 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
There you go.
Should we make this
Let us
conversation
know
next?
how
Well, I
Okay,
just-
next is, yes, that
Filling in the pool.
make the motion that the pool be filled in as temporarily as it can be.
Can we take the concrete out?
I'll take all the concrete around the sides and then we'll fill the pool, the old pool in, so nobody gets hurt.
I might as well get all of them. No, here, we'll just do this. Yep.
You can not use that same, you know, you're gonna use the same site, but it's undergone.
You can make it into a
Concrete,
You know, people, you know the worst part is people like you.
Just gonna say that. Because the cats jump in the fence instead of the kids.
Barry, what's the dimension of the pool?
35 by 75.
12 foot on one end,
3 foot on the other.
3 foot on the upper end.
What was it?
3 foot?
3 to 12.
Right on one end.
That's a big hole.
That's 20 by.
So what it,
The kiddie pool's gonna be
what are you
filled
gonna
in
fill it
too?
in with?
There's something, what you, we
Okay,
have
we
the
got
same
a lot
area.
of
Okay.
motions to get through.
All right, so are we making,
A motion.
we're making a motion on filling the pool in?
You make the motion.
I make the motion that,
But you guys understand, you guys are able to be putting sand in. Do you wanna use the same spot? The house is there, you should be able to use the house.
Yes,
to
exactly.
me,
should.
to me, mechanical wise, the pump house is in the wrong location for a new pool.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's,
Cause
that needs to be
that's
changed,
downhill,
too.
why pump water uphill?
That's right. But I mean the main house, be
Bathrooms and
the
shower.
restrooms.
If
the
you're
shower,
gonna-
you're gonna change all that.
Anyway.
Well, yeah,
There's no, it's downhill, you can de-water
I'd
them.
lot it all over if it was me.
I put sand in it, so if you go in and dig it out, then you take the sand out and use it. If I put pus in there, then we get a mess.
So we're looking for, what, just a motion for him to?
Did you make a
Houses
motion?
ran this long.
You're looking at $5,000 probably in sand,
Yeah.
but it can be taken back out.
Well, what about the dirt from behind that Barry thinks is a good idea to level
Well,
out?
you could take that bank out, I can have that there in the day. Like I said, I can.
Other
push
than
it
that,
out.
now we're kind of
That's what you guys.
remediating the whole lawn and,
I would just fill it with sand at this point until you find out what's going on, because, I mean, you got a fence around it. You know, you can take down a portion, you get in there to fill it, then you put the fence back up, and you still got what you got until you, I mean, even if the pool didn't go and you wanted to put a splash pad in there eventually, at least you know what you got and you can start from there, you know. I would hope that regardless of whatever you do, you're gonna, instead of just going to a contractor to hire a contractor, I'd assume that you would at least get with an engineering firm, to you know, to make sure, because I mean, a contractor, different contractors can do different things for you, but you're gonna, if there's grants involved, you're definitely gonna want some, you know, they're gonna require some sort of engineering at that point
Well,
too.
so is the health department, so.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would recommend, honestly, I would recommend filling it in, that's me, but, and then putting the fence back, you know, that section of fence in it.
And then what do we do with all that sand when you, if you're taking it over?
take it out.
Take it out.
When you go to build
Put a
on the
grant
playground,
for
you take the
no.
sand out.
Bring the sand at the
Sand
playground
hasn't lost
too.
its value.
Sell it,
$5,000.
sell it by the pound.
Well, no, I mean.
Fill your own bag.
Put it back on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it back out.
What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
Well, I don't know, just whether.
Well, alright, so let's,
Yeah, get it done.
fill the sand, but you can take it back out.
So you need a motion.
And reuse the sand.
Hey, did you make the motion?
I make a motion that we allow Richie to use sand to fill the pool.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That way you can use the park.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need me to sign anything?
I have to sign it, but thank you very much for offering, I appreciate it.
jacket?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna sign it, thank you.
Over the-
I would probably get into my car and I'd be like,
Okay, last month, we, made the motion to go ahead.
Thank you.
and,
Those your papers over there?
I'll be,
letters to be
Or no, it just says
received.
my-
Oops, sorry.
Amendments to the zoning law, and that has been done, the 30 days is not up. It's almost up, and we've had no responses, I don't expect to get any. So next month, I would suggest we're ready to look at the amendments. Well, to discuss what we want to change, if you want to change any of their changes, if you want to add changes, you want to subtract changes, we should be ready to go next month.
Does everybody have those recommendations?
Yes,
I don't know.
Is Jim gonna be there next month?
yes. We have 3 quotes for the air conditioner for Carol's office, which was started last year. And someplace I have the 3 quotes. We have Comstock HVAC for $4,800. We have, but we think that included, we have, who was this person? Oh, John Billings for, what was it? Oh, $49.50. And we have Air Tree Mechanical for $2,268.
Chicken dinner.
I would make the motion that we go with Pear Tree.
Are they all apples or apples?
They are all apples to apples. Yes.
Well, Matt is doing, I asked for an estimate for just air conditioning. His estimate for both actually was a little less
Was
than
the
those two
lowest bid.
anyway.
I think the other 2 included heat,
Well,
but
yours
Matt
does
was
too.
still lower, but we don't want the heat.
For the
we just
20,
want
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really?
Yeah,
You're actually
Oh.
more money if you get this.
it's right next door. But no, I just lost a lot of money.
That's what I was thinking.
Matt said that's also
Well, you
for
gave,
heat.
we have yours
It does do
for
heat too.
that.
It just doesn't do deep cycle heating.
Okay,
So there's it'll do temperatures down about 5 degrees. Below that, it doesn't do as much.
okay,
So
good deal.
Did you say you can give grant money too?
That was with Matt.
I mean, they're different. BTUs, but
12,000 BTUs for that office is a lot.
this one's only 8.
You made the motion, I'll second it. We don't want Carol to be uncomfortable in summertime.
Thank you.
You have an air conditioner in your office?
No. That the cats pee.
Oh,
Outside. I'm serious.
2,400?
2268. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
Oh, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We received our pilot payments for Canandaigua Power Partners 1 and 2 and Barren Winds this month.
Who's the one that Jason Dagger that we got?
Oh, we got that,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, I saw that just before I came in. If anybody can understand what that means, I'm gonna ask for a clarification. Did you get that? Oh, you probably would have seen it, it came in.
I couldn't hear what you're talking about.
So the way we're off a year on payments.
Well, he's trying to say that, yeah, we're gonna get the same amount of payments, which is true. I just felt that we should have had a payment in 22, we should have had a payment in 23. We've only gotten the one payment.
For 23,
But
correct.
did you understand that we were gonna get another one this?
Yeah.
Okay, that, well, I wasn't sure.
So that catches us up?
Well, I still
That's for
think we should have got one in
23,
22,
correct.
but we will get the same amount of payments regardless. I just,
So the one we got last fall was for 22.
no, it was for 23.
We didn't get one.
They're not, no, they're saying they didn't have to start in 22, even though our contract says the year they started construction.
Oh, okay.
They started and completed it in 22. But they're saying they weren't, they didn't hear these guys. I don't know if it's from us, but they got it.
You can't hear these guys.
But we'll get the same amount of money
We'll have them under the
regardless.
ballot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they were blaming.
Okay.
But anyway, we did get our, pilot, however, they have not paid their, taxes on the special district. But that's their problem. Yes. Also, but they'll be paying penalties on that. Approval for planning board and ZBA members to take training at the Corning Community College, which, many of us have gone to every year. It's a very good training. You get everything done in one fell swoop, and they give you lunch. Yes. We have 3, zoning board people going and 2 planning board people going.
Do you need a motion for that? Make a motion to send 5 people to the planning board and ZBA members to training.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Judy,
Opposed?
I'm sorry. You can go ahead and finish your vote.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Does that need to be voted on? Like, does the board have to vote for that appointment? Because I'm
Well, we're
quite
not
sure.
for that, we're just, this is for the
The
training.
training.
So do you
Yeah,
know how
but-
much the training cost, or it's just
It's $75.
$75 a person?
Mm-hmm.
So for the BAR, that has nothing to do with that?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
that training is free, and that's mandatory, and the county does it for free.
Does that person need to be voted on tonight?
Yeah, that's coming up.
Oh, is it coming up?
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's, I could have read this in the correspondence, but I had it on the agenda. There's notice of public hearing, it's on the board out front, but I just wanted everybody to be aware of it, 8-year review. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the county legislature, the county of Steuben at the legislative chambers, 3rd floor, annex building in Bath, I'll skip the rest of that, on the 25th day of March 2024 at 10 a.m. upon the agricultural district within the towns of Avoca, Cohocton, Dansville, Fremont, Plattsburgh, and Wayland, New York, known as Agricultural District Number 5, to consider the recommendations of the County Planning Board and the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board and any proposed modifications to the district. A description of the map of the district with proposed modifications may be examined during regular business hours at the office of the Steuben County Planning Department, located at the Annex Building, 20 East Morris Street in the Village of Bath, New York. It is the joint recommendation of the County Planning Board and the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board that the district be continued, subject to proposed modifications for a period of 8 years. All persons, citizens, and parties in interest are invited to attend to be heard. So I thought, I don't know how many people would ever have seen this notice. We, have several AEDs, and we have one here in the town, with the ambulances each have one. The park needs to have one, the highway department needs to have one in their building. The, mine operation is supposed to have one, where they dig, gravel, I guess, the gravel
Ours
pit.
would be in
The
a truck.
gravel pit.
You put it in a truck when you go
Yeah.
online.
So right now, because the one that we had here at the town was a little too old, we replaced that with the one from the park, which we have in here now. We need 2 new ones. We did just buy, 2 new batteries for 2 of them. And they're fairly expensive, like $1,800. You also have to replace the pads and the, batteries frequently. I just became aware because we have Cintas, which keeps the thing that, no, that's Uniper, Cintas
Medicine cabinets.
Has medicine cabinets both here and at the highway barn, and an eye wash station, and things like that. And, the salesman came, and they actually have an AED program, where they supply the AEDs, there's no upfront charge. They give you the cabinet, which we don't, we only have 2 cabinets. They give you a grab bag and a go bag. They, inspect them once a month. They, replace pads and batteries for free. And I have this, I got a quote just to show you how much the pads and batteries are and the cost of a, they're pricey. And their program is depending on which, AED you choose. Zoll is $130 a month, the Lifeline is $112 a month. But there's no upfront cost, and the cost of the maintenance is the price of a AED for the year. I think they did that on purpose. And, I don't know, and I didn't ask how frequently we actually have to replace the whole AED. But I know we've replaced several of them in the time I've been involved with the ambulance service, which is a couple of years. Pat, you might have a better idea on
How much they cost?
Well,
$1,800.
Actually, that's a lot cheaper than what
Hey,
they used to
Judy.
be.
Ashley Adams just got one for the village. I wanna say we only paid like 11 or 12, that's not here, 11 or 1200.
Yeah, that
through
is
somebody.
not the ones that we use that tells you how to do everything. Those are 17 to 1800.
Yeah, you can get refurbished ones,
Yeah.
Judy.
Yeah,
Fred
it's
Brand,
all-
EMS
yeah,
chief over
They
there.
all have to tell you what to do.
Wayland.
Yeah.
They
Knows
can't expect
the
you
process
process
for
for
those.
I know the Zolls, there's been a lot of issues with their, hardware or their software program, sorry. So I think the other one would be the better choice.
Yeah, we use cardiac light. I mean, that's what
Is that
we
what's
have
in the
now, which-
ambulance?
Yeah. But I don't think this is a bad idea.
I don't think it is either. I
Not
think it's a
for
good idea.
all of them, I would get the 2 new ones, the 2 that we need through them, cause then there would be no upfront cost. And then as the other ones needed to be replaced, we could add those to the,
Does that include the training for the personnel?
they do have, well, I think we do, I don't know who would have to be trained, but yeah, they
Well,
would
there's
do.
one in the highway
Yeah, right,
department,
the
wouldn't they all
highway,
have to
yeah.
be trained, Richie?
Yeah, we've done.
Yeah,
Okay. And do our police cars carry them too?
We are.
Okay.
We have one new one and we got one old one.
I think it's a great idea. I really do.
on you, does it work?
That's good. Yeah.
I have no heart.
I just hope we never have to use one here. I think it's a good idea.
So that's for 1 or for 3?
Per month. No, per month. No, each one is, yeah,
Each one is that figure?
yeah, yes.
But
Which
if
is
they're
a
gonna
lot of
replace
money,
them
but
for
they're gonna
free,
replace them for
yeah,
free,
plus you're
yeah.
getting the pads, depending on the company that you get the pads for, it could be like $75 a
Does
piece.
Cintas have any competitors?
Zoll,
Well, for AEDs, there's companies that sell them, but this is a service we already got people who come here and are here once a month anyway. I don't know who else does that stuff, no. I don't know who else, they just added this program.
It pretty much costs the same
Mhm.
to have it 12
Yeah.
months. Just,
Yeah,
they're replacing,
the batteries and
they're
the pads.
replacing the consumables for free.
Mhm. And the pads expire if
Yeah, but you don't have to buy a new
use
one
them,
every
if
year.
you use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
no,
you
just
don't.
So
the
it's gonna
cost,
1,500 a year
right,
for each one.
right?
But if you bought one, it could cost 1,500 for 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long they're good for, a machine, I don't know.
you gotta remember that the software changes a lot in between that time too, so you may have to pay for an upgrade in your software even if you don't pay for a
Right.
new machine.
And the batteries and the pads.
Right.
Which both are very
And the
expensive.
batteries, yeah, if you don't use them,
I
They
just
still
replaced the
explode.
pads, pads alone were 150.
yeah, the
Yeah.
pads are expensive.
So that's one month for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we join this program.
The Centas program.
Yeah.
Which one? Well, I know that, I know,
Well,
but there's multiple.
we'll have to look, yeah.
And how many are we talking?
Well, we're talking 2 to start, and then as we need extras or we have to replace one,
So
we
it's
would add them.
$260
Cause I asked that we don't have to
24.
do any amount of them.
So it's what, 30, almost 3,200 a year. That's not bad.
I'll second it.
Was there a motion?
Yeah.
I made it,
Pat
yeah.
made the motion.
32. So we're going with the 130?
Well, I don't know if
I
they're,
go
I
112.
don't particularly like Soul myself.
Yeah, I
but,
don't either. Their software is crap.
Yeah, so we could go with the Lifeline, which is 112.
112.
Do you wanna conclude that in your motion?
I make a motion that we join the Centas program and go for the Lifeline AEDs.
And we'll start with the 2 and then we'll see what happens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mark would like to send 3 officers to training.
In Alfred College.
He has money in his budget for the training.
Is this just like an update or?
It's something they haven't taken at their interview and interrogation course.
Oh, okay.
Is it a required training?
It's not required, it just helps you in your job.
On a day-to-day basis, we interview people, complainants, victims, suspects. It would further increase our performance with that extra training, teach us better techniques to interview suspects and how to handle victims.
How much and where is it?
Yeah.
It's at Alfred, I think it was 300 per person.
It's not bad.
We have it in our budget to send them.
Make the motion, we send 3 officers to training.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Is that still Scott that teaches it?
I'm sorry?
Is the guy that teaches it, is it Scott?
Scott Richardson?
Yeah.
Well, he's in charge of the academy, I don't think he's teaching it.
He'd be the director of the academy, I think.
I would make the motion that we appoint, Bill Yonda to the, Board of Assessment Review.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's the term, 2? Or
The
just kinda-
year it's
life?
5 years. Well, if
5 years.
Bill Biggie was on here, how many years do you know, about 30?
It's a rotating,
Yeah.
rotating,
It's 5
different
years you have
person
to go.
each time runs out.
You have to go for training every 5 years, yeah. To be reappointed. And I would make the motion that we, appoint Pat Yonda to the Ethics Board as the alternate, because we had a
I'll second
resignation.
that.
This is the alternate, right?
Mhm. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question. As I understand, the law reads that the board is composed of 3 individuals, one of whom must be an elected or appointed town official.
Yeah, we did. What did we decide?
If she's on the board, she's the only, to my knowledge, she's the only one who would be the appointed town, or elected town official.
Well, she'll be on the board, so we have the elected official. Do you want somebody to switch with her to be the alternate?
I would like that to be clarified.
Well, nobody seems to be able to clarify why that's in there or what, I know. Or how it makes any, how it really reads, because actually, when you're on a board, you are a employee of the town, so to speak. You are considered a town official, so they all are officials once they're appointed to any board, as the planning board, everyone's considered an official once they're on a board. So who wrote that law, why that was in there, as it is, that's why. And the last thing, motion to approve the purchase of the used trailer from the fire department for the maintenance department,
For
$19,000.
1,900.
Oh, nine, oh.
Sounds great, there's one argument.
Oh, shoot, forget I said that right.
Sign your.
I actually did write 19,000.
Fire department's making all like that.
Okay, yeah. Whoa. Well, I did actually write 19,000.
I'll make the
No, it's
motion
not.
For the 1900.
for the 1,900, yes.
second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privilege of the floor.
I just want to let everyone know that the Ethics Board would like to submit a report to the board. The Ethics Board held an open meeting last night, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. to review a current complaint and to conduct interviews. 3 members of the community attended the open meeting, which notification had been printed in the Hornell paper. The meeting was called to order at 6:30 p.m. The board reviewed the local law number 1 of year 2019. 3 board members were to attend. 2 responded with negative answers to the town clerk. 1 chose to ignore the request and did not appear. The Ethics Board's review is that as public officials representing the taxpayers acted in an unprofessional and deplorable manner against a government-mandated process. Due to failure to comply with the local Ethics Board, this requires the board to notify the County Board of Ethics for the inappropriate and unethical behavior of the town of Cohocton public servants. The Ethics Board would consider another opportunity to interview if the board members would provide a time and a date that would work for all parties within 10 days.
What was the matter about?
It was a complaint, and the Ethics Board was handling a complaint.
About what?
You have to come to the meeting.
Well, it should have been listed in the
No,
request to come to the
we
meeting.
don't.
It's confidential.
Everything's confidential. Everything that is discussed, there were public people here. If anybody had appeared to do the interviews, we would have gone into an executive session. Nothing is let out, nobody discussed it, it's written up. When the cases are settled, they are sealed, and we do have to give a report. So once a report goes in, we have to act on it, but we need cooperation.
The meetings have to be open to the public, that's why they're notified, but when they're doing what they do, it's an executive session. That's what the meeting's on. Anybody else? Bill?
Again, with regard to the ethics law, it states that the board will review, quote, written, unquote, complaints. I would like that section expanded to read signed complaints, and with the stipulation that the ethics board may grant anonymity if justification is provided.
Well, that would be a change in a law, so
Yeah.
that would have to
That's
be
what I'm
written.
asking.
Well, you would have to submit that in writing to the planning board, and they would give, don't know how.
They give it to the planning board, the planning board looks it over with the
Not the
change.
planning board. No, not the
Well,
planning
they have to
board.
recommend it. No, the town board would
Town
make
board
it.
would have to.
But usually the
Well,
planning.
the
town board would
makes
have to adopt it, but the plan, this is not a land use matter, so the
No,
planning
no,
board's
yeah,
not
you're
No,
involved.
it's the town board that would have to.
No, Boga sends everything.
No, the town board would have to do that.
I will follow that procedure.
Anybody else? Board concerns? Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Any discussion with this motion?
What?
Motion with a second. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Very good. Ready for spring. I think I was there that night, so it was quick. It was amazing.
Well,
Right, I'll call him tomorrow. Give him a heads up.
Fun, fun.
I don't care.
So do you have to write to check to the town? Or the town write?
This meeting.
Oh, yeah, I don't know that.
Bye, Rich.
I'll have, Snyder get ahold of you.
Pool stuff, maybe kiddie pool too, I don't know if that needs to be replaced or not, or if we should try to put that in our, you know, so maybe find out pools in depth for both too.
Yeah, for a tight, yeah, it should just be a.
I have her get ahold of you guys. Thank you.
How much is the swimming pool gonna cost? Is a new pool?
No, I was gonna say.
See you later.
Come on now, boy.
3 foot. The poor guy, when they went up,